Good morning, students. I, Srimati C. Ramadevi, School Assistant Physical Science, working in ZPHS, Pedambarpet, Abdullapur Met Mandal, Rangareddy District. Now, today we are going to start the part 2 for chapter 3, lesson number Laws of Motion for the class 9th students. Okay, students, let us start learning. Now, in this chapter, we are going to learn these topics. We have already learned in the previous class Newton's first law. Therefore, there is a recap of the Newton's first law and inertia and mass. The third topic, free body diagram. We are going to learn how to draw the free body diagram and what are the forces acting on it. Okay. Next, coming to linear momentum, we are a new concept. We are going to learn what is linear momentum and its units. Next, Newton's second law of motion. It's with some examples and activities. Okay. Now, in the previous class, we have already studied about the Newton's first law of motion. Now, we once again revise that. What is Newton's first law? Every object will remain at rest or in the state of uniform motion unless compelled to change its state by the action of net force. Now, here we are seeing the object as the car. Car which is at rest, it remains as rest. Unless the driver starts, it will be in the state of rest. Now, in the second picture, car is in the motion. Now, it remains in the motion unless somebody is going to stop it or somebody going to apply some external force. Right. In the third picture, we see that car is stopped because the brakes are applied by the driver. So, that is the force acted on this. Therefore, the movement of the car is stopped. This is also known as the law of inertia. Right. Now, students, you observe here, we are seeing some pictures. See, this boy is happily pushing his small car. Because of the less weight, he is moving his car happily and easily. Okay. Now, here we are seeing the two pictures that a person is pushing the car with a lot of effort he is using and he is pushing the car. Because of the heavy weight, he is pushing it with a heavily, hardly. Now, in this picture, we see that a person is pulling the luggage cart with heavily. Right. In the last picture, we see that a boy is hitting the tire with a stick and because of its less weight, it is moving easily. Now, in this observation, we concluded that the concept of push and pull are easily understood. Because of heavy weight, the pushing and pulling is very hard, and because of the light weight, the pushing and pulling is very easy. Now, in the previous part, we have already learned about the inertia. Inertia is the property of an object that resists changes in its state of motion. Isn't it? It is the property of an object that resists the changes in its state of motion. Now, if a body is in the rest, it tries to be in the state of rest. If a body is in the motion, it tries to be in the state of motion. That property itself is called the inertia. Now, if we want to change the state, then we have to apply the external force, which is the first law. Now, do all the objects have this tendency? Yes, all the objects have the tendency of inertia. Do all the objects have same inertia? And what factors can decide the inertia of a body? Now, we'll see the answers to these questions. Okay. Now, which is easy for you to push a car or a bicycle? Now, because of heaviness, a person is pushing this car with a lot of effort. He is applying more force on this. Right. In this picture, you see that a boy is pushing the bicycle with the less effort. Because of its less weight, it is moving freely. Now, similarly, we see here a person applying force on the object, on the car, the acceleration is also less. Now here, the person is applying force on this wheel cart, baby cart, the acceleration is more. The movement of the cart is fast. Okay, therefore, the force produces an acceleration. Right. Now, car has greater inertia than the bicycle. Why? Inertia depends on the mass of the object. Now we have seen that car, because of its more mass, the inertia is greater. Inertia is also more. Now car is having less mass, the bicycle is having the less mass, therefore the inertia is also less. Have you understood this? Okay. Car has more inertia than the bicycle because of its mass. Now we came to know that there is an interlink between the inertia and the mass. Mass of an object is considered as the measure of inertia. Now what is the SI unit of mass? SI unit of mass is kilogram, kg. Okay, right. Here we see the example of inertia and mass. Now we are seeing in the picture the two wooden blocks of different masses. They are kept on the horizontal floor. We see the line there. Okay, now we are pushing the wooden boxes with the same force, applying the at a time. Okay, now we see the two blocks are moving at a time. Which block moves fast? Yes, smaller mass moves fast. Greater the mass of an object, the more it resists the changes in its state. Because of its heavy mass, it is resisting. It is showing laziness to move its state of motion. Okay. So greater the mass of an object, the more it resists the changes in its state of motion. Whereas for the smaller object, it is moving very freely. And the mass is the property of an object that specifies how much inertia the object has. Greater the mass, greater will be the inertia. Smaller the mass, smaller will be the inertia. Right. Now, here is a diagram we are seeing that this diagram represents the various forces acting on a free body. Now, what is this free body? Any object or anything, means it may be car, it may be person, or it may be vehicles, or it may be objects such as book, pen, pencil, or the any TV, radio, or anything. Any bodies which are free. Now, what are the forces acting on the free body? Now, see, we are seeing here from the four sides, we are seeing four directions. Some forces are acting on this free body, isn't it? From the left side, capital F, from the right side, small f, and from the downward direction, capital N, and downward direction, weight of the body, and in the upward direction, capital N, we are seeing here, isn't it? Now from all the four directions, the forces are acting on the free body, on the mass, right? Now the mass of the object is m. Now we know that for any body there will be weight of that. Weight of the object is given as a mass into gravity. Now we know that every object is pulled by the gravity. Therefore, there is a gravitational force on the object, so which is showing downwards. Now this is the normal force supporting the mass not to fall, isn't it? Now if we place a book on the table, what happens? The table supports the book. Table supports the book not to fall down. Okay, that is called normal force, and it is opposite to the weight of the object. This is the normal force showing upwards. Now in the right, now this is the capital F, which is showing on the left side. Now this is the, now the body is in the state of the rest. Now we are applying some force in order to move the object. To move the object, we are applying the force. That force is called force of push. That force is called force of push. That is denoted by the letter capital F. Okay, if we apply the force on it to move the object, that force is called capital F, and that is showing in this direction. Now in the right side, now what is small f? It is the force of friction. Now what is this friction? Now this friction is opposing the force of push. Now what is it doing? The force of friction opposes to the force of push. It is resisting to move from its state. Now the body is freely landed on the table. The book is freely landed on the table. Now it wants to be in the state of the rest, but some external force is applying here to push it. This is the frictional force that is opposing to move. That is called frictional force. It is denoted by the letter F. And who is acting, small f? Who is acting frictional force on this object? The table, or the horizontal force where we place the object, that is applying the frictional force. Okay, all the forces we are seeing in this picture, that F apply, force applied, this is the force of the push, and this is the force of gravity, and in the right side we see the force of friction, and here we see the normal force which is acting upwards. Okay, now we see the example for this. Now here is an example problem. A body of mass m is kept on the horizontal floor and it is pushed in the horizontal direction with a force of 10 newtons continuously so that it moves steadily. And here the question is, draw free body diagram. FBD is nothing but free body diagram, and a diagram should be a diagram showing all the forces acting on the body at a point of time. What is second question? What is the value of friction? Now we have learned frictional force. Okay, now we try to solve this problem. Now here, to draw the free body diagram, we know we have taken the object here, object of mass m, and we know the four sides, four directions, four forces acting on this. This is the frictional force, force of push, force which we are applying on the object to move, and this is the frictional force. Frictional force is applied by the horizontal floor or the table, and W is the weight of the object showing downwards, isn't it? Due to the gravity, the weight is always downwards, and this is the normal force which is upwards, and normal force is acted upon the object by the table, isn't it? Now this is called the free body diagram, and all the four forces acting on it are shown here. Right. Now in order to answer the question, second question, what is the value of friction? Now to do this, we have to write the data given in the problem. Now what is that? A body of mass m is kept on the horizontal floor and it is pushed in the horizontal direction with a force of 10 newtons continuously so that it moves steadily. Right. Now to write the data, given that the body is moving steadily. If the body is in the state of motion, then what happens? It tries to be in the state of motion. Unless any external force is acted on it, the body will be in the state of motion. Hence here, the net force of the body is zero, isn't it? Both in the horizontal and the vertical directions, because it is moving steadily. Okay, next. For a free body, we know that the four forces are acting on this. The forces acting on it along the horizontal, in the given that on the horizontal floor, it is pushed in the horizontal direction with a force of 10 newtons. Now, what are the forces acting on this? Capital F and small f. Yes, forces acting on it along horizontal direction are force of friction small f and force of push capital F. We know that F net is equals to 0. The net force applied is 0. Then what happens? Only two forces are acting horizontally. One is from the left side, one is from the right side. This is in the opposite direction. Therefore, capital F, the force of push, plus minus F we have taken because force of friction is against to the force of push. Okay, and that is equals to 0. Now taking minus F to other side, we get force of push is equals to the force of friction. Hence, what is the force of push here? 10 newtons. Hence, the value of the force of friction is also 10 newtons. Students, I think you have understood this example very well. Okay. Now, in the first law, we have studied that when the net force acting on a body is 0, we say that the body is in equilibrium. Now, if net force acting on the body is non-zero, then what happens to the body? Let us see. Now here, at first, the football is in the state of rest. What happens? Boy is pushing the football, then the force is acted on the ball. So that what happens? Force is acted on it to move its state of rest. So it is in the state of motion now, isn't it? Now what is force? Force is an action. The boy acted, the boy gave a force on the body, on the football. The force is an action, and that action, what it created, it produces the acceleration in the football, isn't it? It moves with some speed. It moves with some speed in the state of motion, which is in the state of the motion. Therefore, force is an action which produces the acceleration. We came to know that when the net force is in the equilibrium, if a net force acting on the body is 0, then we say that the body is in equilibrium. It is in the rest position. If the net force acting on the body is non-zero, then the equilibrium is disturbed. Okay, a non-zero net force acting on a body disturbs the state of the equilibrium. Now here we see two things, acceleration and force. There is something relation between the acceleration and the force. Now we are going to see that how the acceleration of an object depends on the force applied on it. Okay. Secondly, how we measure a force. Let us see. Now students, you observe here a cricket ball. and a badminton ball here. Now these are the two balls. If they come with the same speed, which ball is going to hurt us more? Which ball is going to hurt you more? Naturally, the cricket ball, isn't it? Why? Because of its mass. Okay, next. Here we see a boy is hitting the wall with the bicycle, and in the other picture we see that the car is hitting the wall. Okay, which causes more damage to the wall? Naturally, the car damages more to the wall because of its heavy weight, and it is having, and this mass is having velocity, and it is moving with the more speed. Therefore, it damages the wall heavily. Okay. Now here we can with those observations, we see the concept of momentum. Okay, momentum is denoted by the letter P. The momentum of a body is simply defined as the product of its mass and its velocity v. Okay, the momentum is denoted by the letter P. Momentum is equals to product of its mass and velocity. Mass into velocity. Now any object will have the mass, and if it is in the motion, it will have some velocity. The mass into the product of mass and velocity gives us the momentum. Therefore, P is equals to mv. It can be stated as mass in motion. Any moving body will have the velocity. Therefore, mass in motion. As all the objects have the mass, if an object is in motion, then it acquires momentum. Now, in the previous picture, we have seen that mass of the bicycle is less, whereas mass of the car is more. And the velocity is also more. Therefore, the momentum of the car is more than the momentum of the bicycle. The momentum is more and the momentum is less for the bicycle. Okay. All the objects have the mass. If an object is in motion, then it acquires momentum. Next, momentum is a vector quantity because velocity is a vector. Hence, the direction of the momentum is in the direction of the velocity. Now, units of the momentum. The SI unit of the momentum is kg meters per second or Newton seconds. Okay, now here we see that a mass of the body of the mass m, and it is moving with the velocity v. When we are applying some force on this, then the momentum is acquired by this body. Okay, right. Now, here we observe now here we see an activity, different forces acting on the same mass object, same object. Now here we see a person is pushing the luggage cart, isn't it? Here the person is pushing the luggage cart. He is applying a little force and he is pushing it. Now there is, as soon as you push, what happens? It starts moving. Any body starts moving will have acceleration. Now in the second picture, we see that a person is applying more force on this to move the same luggage cart, which is of the same mass as in the first figure. Now he is applying more force, so it speeds up. It moves fastly, so that the acceleration will be more. Okay, you are applying more force, the cart moves speedily, therefore the acceleration is also more. Now here you are seeing two ice blocks of the same mass, but the forces applied are different. This is the small force applied on this and the capital force applied on this. This is the more force, larger force is applied on this. Therefore, acceleration will also greater, and here smaller force acted on this. Therefore, acceleration will be less for the object, less for the above object and more for the bottom object. Okay, we see that larger the net force, greater the acceleration when the mass is same, when the mass is constant. Now here we are seeing that the two luggages are of the same mass, but the acceleration is different because the forces are different. More force is applied on the second luggage cart, so acceleration is more, isn't it, children? Larger the net force, greater the acceleration when the mass is constant. Similarly, we see the other picture. Right. Same forces acting on the different masses. Now here we see the luggage cart which is empty here. Now he is pushing the luggage cart. So he is applying some force on that. So there is, it speeds up, it goes freely. The acceleration will also acquired by this mass. Right. In the second picture, we see that the mass is more. Mass is more. The luggage is more. Therefore, he is applying the same force as in the first figure. Now the acceleration is less because it will not move easily as the empty cart moved. Okay. Now here we are seeing the two blocks, that is of the different masses. Smaller mass moves fast, whereas the greater mass block moves less. Right. Now we conclude that the larger the mass, lesser the acceleration when the force is constant. When the same forces are acting on the different bodies, body of larger mass will accelerate less, will move less, whereas body of smaller mass will accelerate more. It moves fastly. Okay. Right. With this, we conclude that Newton's second law states that according to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum of an object is proportional to the net force applied on the object in the direction of net force. Now, what is the change of momentum? Just now we have studied that the momentum is mass into velocity. If there is a change in the mass or the velocity, the rate of change in the momentum is proportional to the force applied on the object. Okay, and that force applied, the change in the momentum will be in the direction of the net force. Now here we see that F net is directly proportional to delta P by delta T. Here we are seeing delta means a small triangle over here. This shows that the change in the P, and here change in the time. Okay, therefore the rate of change in the momentum is proportional to the net force applied on this object. Now what is this delta P? Delta P is the change in the momentum of the particle or the system of the particles brought about by the net force in an interval of time delta T. When the symbol of the proportionality is removed, the constant is instead inserted in the equation. Therefore, F net is equal to K into delta P by delta T. K is the constant. Now, the unit of force is chosen such that the value of the K should be 1. If the K becomes 1, then F net is equals to delta P by delta T. This is the Newton's second law. Now come. Now, just now we have learned that P is equals to mv. So that if there is a change in the momentum, delta P is equal to delta mv. Now we are saying that mass of the body is constant. If the mass is constant, there is a change, there will be change in its motion. Then delta P is equal to m into delta V. There is a change in the velocity. F net is equals to m into delta V by delta T. We know that change in the velocity, rate of change in the velocity is acceleration. Delta V by delta T is taken as acceleration, which is called uniform acceleration. Then F net is equals to mass into acceleration. The net force produces acceleration in a body is in the direction of force. Okay, good. Now, SI units of force are kg meter per second square. This unit has been named as Newton because Newton stated this law. And we know that 1 Newton is equals to 1 kg meter per second square. Okay, girls. We have studied about the Newton's second law. That change of the momentum, rate of change in the momentum is directly proportional to the net force applied on the object. Now, we are seeing here, we are proving here Newton's law of motion with the Atwood machine. Now, here we see that this is the Atwood machine. Now, what is this? Atwood machine used the system to prove the Newton's law of motion. Atwood machine consists of two loads of masses m1 and m2. Now, those masses are attached to the ends of a limb of inextensible string. Now, here we are seen in this figure that this is the inextensible string, which will not stretch more. These are inextensible string. At the limb, the two loads of masses are attached, m1 and m2. These are the two objects. Now, the string runs over a pulley. Here we see that there is a pulley and the string runs over it. If the mass of the m1 is greater, it goes down. Mass of the m2 is less, then it goes up. If a mass of the m2 is more, then it goes down. And if the mass of the m1 is less, then it goes up. Now this is called a Atwood machine. Now this is used to prove the Newton's laws of motion. Okay. Now we are going to solve a problem on this. Right. Now here is an example problem. Find the acceleration of each load and tension in the string M1 is greater than M2. Now there are the two questions to find the acceleration and the tension on the two loads now which are attached to the inextensible strings. M1 and M2 are the two objects which are two loads which are attached to the limb of the inextensible strings. Now to solve this problem, we draw the free body diagram. Now first we see the load M1. Okay. Now we know that this is the string. String is stopping the load 1 to fall in falling, isn't it? So the string is applying the upward force here, okay, as the tension force, right? Now the weight of the loaded body object is m1 into g, because this is due to the gravity, it is showing down, the weight is showing down, m1g, and this is the T is the tension normal force acting upwards. That string is stopping the body not to fall. Okay, now the acceleration is the downward direction. Okay, now in order to calculate the acceleration, first we see the net force acting on the mass m1. F net, just now we have seen that Newton's second law, F is equals to mass into acceleration. F net is equals to m1 into a. Now as the string m1 is greater than m2, m1g minus capital T is equals to m1 into A. F net acting on this is m1g minus T. Okay. Why we are subtracting minus T? Because the tensional force is less and the weight of the body is due to the gravity, it is showing downwards, it is more, and m1 is greater, therefore m1g minus T is equals to m1a. This is the first equation. Now coming to the second body. Now this is the body. We know that the weight of the second body is the m2g, which is showing downwards, and this is the tensional force showing upwards. Normal force, it is nothing but the normal force. Right. Now the acceleration is showing up because as this moves down, as the load 1 moves down, this goes up, isn't it? The net force on the m2, F net is equals to m2 into A. Now as it is going up, the tensional force is more. As the weight of this body is less, the body is going up. Therefore, T minus m2g is equals to m2 into A. Right, this is the second equation. Now with these calculations here, all those things, m1g minus T is equals to m1a, which is the first equation. Now we are taking T on the right side and m1a to the left side. Then we get T is equals to m1g minus m1a as we write this equation as capital A. Okay. Now substituting this T value, capital T value, tension value in the other equation to get T minus m2g is equals to m2a. This is the second equation. Now we are going to substitute the T value here. What is T value? m1g minus m1a and minus m2g is equal to m2a. Now taking g common and m1a to the minus m1a to the other side, we get m1g minus m2g is equals to m1a plus m2a. Now taking g common here, m1 minus m2 is equals to a into m1 plus m2. Now in order to calculate the acceleration, a should be at the left side, that is should be equals to g into m1 m2, and taking m1 plus m2 to the other side, which goes to the denominator m1 plus m2, we get a is equals to acceleration on the each load is equals to gravity into capital m1 minus m2. m1 is greater, therefore m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2. Now similarly, you substitute this a value in the capital A equation, we get tension is T is equals to m1g minus m1 into, instead of A, we are substituting this value g into m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2. T is equals to, now taking m1g common and or else take LCM, then we get in the denominator m1 plus m2, m1g into m1 plus m2 minus m1 into g into m1 minus m2. Now taking m1g common, then we get or else on solving, multiplying this m1 square g plus m2 into m1g minus m1g m1, we get minus m1 square g plus minus into minus plus m1 into m2, we get divided by denominator m1 plus m2. Now the cancelling minus m1 square plus m1 square g, we get T is equals to 2 m1 m2 into g by m1 plus m2. This is the tension on the two loads. Right. Now we get from those two equations, after solving, A is equals to m1 minus m2 into g by m1 plus m2. T is equals to 2 m1 m2 g by m1 plus m2. Okay, till now we have understood it clearly. Now what we have learned, we'll see here. Now we have seen that the inertia and the mass. Inertia is the measure of the mass, and we have learned about the free body diagram, what are the forces acting on it, and what is linear momentum, and units also we have learned. And finally the second law of motion, Newton's second law of motion we have learned. I think students, you have all understood it clearly. Okay, now we'll see the questions on this. Inertia of a body depends on fill in the blank. Now draw the free body diagram showing all the forces acting on it. Define linear momentum and write its units. State Newton's second law of motion. Now try to write the answers for these questions. Okay, thank you.